Good evening. I'm Brad. He's Justin. Thanks for watching. I Could Be Wrong. Tonight we preview week 1 of the NFL regular season, give our picks and predictions along the way. Keep in mind, we could be wrong about all of it. Good evening, bro. Good to see you again.
Yeah, man, you too. Probably will be wrong about a lot of it.
Probably. You ready to talk some regular season football?
Man, super excited. Can't wait. Got that first game tomorrow. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I know you are, and I know every other football fan across America and the world abroad is.
Absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. So we have a handful of games that we'll deep dive into, but obviously first let's take a look at the full schedule. Other than obviously the 49ers game, because we're 49ers fans, so yeah. That's Detroit. What game are you most interested in?
Well, I'm interested in this week. I'm interested in that Cleveland Browns Kansas City Chiefs game. They had a couple of good games last year. In fact, I'd like to see another good one to start the year. I mean, they're two powerhouses. And another one I really got my eye on is the Steelers versus Buffalo Bills. Most games I'm curious to see are in the AFC this week. Not a ton of exciting games in the NFC, in my opinion, other than, watching the Niners come out. Hopefully they can be healthy for us all year. But, yeah, I'd like to see the Steelers defense matching up against Josh Allen. That high-powered offense over there. I'd like to see the new Steelers offensive line, how well they can block for Big Ben and Najee, who's expected to do big things this year. So that's another game I'm really, really interested to see as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, that's the game I'm looking forward to most, other than the Niners game, is the Steelers and the Bills.
Yeah.
Obviously, Big Ben's back. He took a pay cut, but he's back. He's got a new offensive line. Like you mentioned, whether it's new and improved, obviously remains to be seen. You also touched on Najee Harris. I'm definitely excited to see him at full speed, regular season speed. I think he's going to be a star in the league for the next few years. So I'm definitely excited to see what he can do here on the next level. On the flip side, of course, obviously you got Josh Allen. I'm also excited to see if he can continue to improve like he has pretty much every year since being drafted. He and Stephon Diggs had a pretty big year last year.
Yeah.
So I imagine they're going to, just pick up where they left off. Obviously, unfortunately for them, they fell short in the playoffs against Kansas City. So it'll be interesting also to see if they have any type of hangover from that championship game loss. So I think this is going to be a big test for both teams to start out the season and kind of be a good measuring stick of where they're at early in the season. I personally, I have, my doubts about Big Ben finishing the season as the starting quarterback. And I'll give my take as we break down this game. I think this game starts to show a pattern, and it's not just about Big Ben. I think about the league and where the league is headed, which is why I'm leaning towards what I've been saying about Big Ben. So let's go ahead and we'll jump into it and start with the season opener you mentioned. Obviously, we have Dallas at Tampa Bay to kick the season off. We all know the storylines here. Dak's back. So are all the starters for Tampa Bay from the Super Bowl. You got Zach Martin out, unfortunately, due to, COVID protocol and things like that. So, it's going to be it figures to be a tough game for Dak to come back and test out that ankle. Obviously, the shoulder as well, with Martin being out. So, open it. Let's go with you. Let's get your take first. What are your thoughts on this one here?
Yeah, well, my first thought is football's back. That's the most exciting thing about this whole thing. I'll touch on what you said is the 22 starters coming back for Tampa. That's why I'm giving them the nod in this game. Their continuity on offense and defense, all through training camp and the preseason. I mean, these guys look pretty good, and they got Tom Brady leading them, the best quarterback ever, to put on a jersey. And that, I'm a Montana fan, so that's tough even for me to say, but it's true. I mean, the guy, he's proven it, and he keeps proving it. So I've got Tampa in this one. This is going to be a tough game for Dak and the Cowboys offense. But But here's, if I'm a Cowboys fan and if I'm looking at this from the perspective of the Cowboys, I would much rather be going against this defense early on just to get it out of the way. Let's go ahead and get this tough game. Let's get this defense after me. Let's see what I got on my recovery from injury. Let's see how well I can perform and show me what I can do against the best defense possible. That way, in my next game and the game after that, I have no doubts. I have no doubts at all if I'm Dak. So if I'm a Cowboys fan, if I'm Dak Prescott, if I'm Jerry Jones and the Cowboys organization, this is the defense I want to face early on in week 1. So I really know where I'm at. I think it's going to be a really good game. But I do have Tampa in this one in a pretty high scoring game.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to take Tampa as well in this one. I'm going to go with 27-17 Tampa Bay. I think it's just I'm on the opposite side. I mean, obviously I know where you're coming from. We want to see where he's at, but I think it's just too much to ask of Dak to go out there and play at a high enough level to overcome that Tampa defense. Especially you got Tom Brady on the other side playing quarterback. And a couple of reasons. This is basically going to be his preseason, right? You got to remember he's only practiced like 5 or 6 times the entire offseason since being cleared to come back and play. So that's going to play a major factor. I think that it's possible conditioning may come into play at some point late in the game. That it hasn't been an issue with Dak in the past, but you got to remember this is his first game. His real game action in almost a full calendar year since he broke his ankle. So, conditioning could definitely be a factor. They do have Zeke, back and by all accounts and what I've seen on TV and what I've read and all the reports is he's in the best shape of his career since he came in the league is what I've heard and what I've read. But we know it's really difficult to line up and just run the ball against Tampa Bay's defense. So, that leads me back to, Dak and leaning on him without having Zach Martin there. I think it's just going to be too much to overcome that Tampa Bay defense. I think it will be a good measuring stick to see where he's at. I don't anticipate them having enough to overcome playing Tampa Bay at full strength, having a full off season, and him kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Him kind of shaking the rust off. Because he's going to be rusty, again, especially since he hasn't had any practice time in the preseason. So I'm going with Tampa, just based off the fact that the Cowboys are missing Zach Martin. Dak's coming back after almost a full year, and we know that not to mention Dallas's defense was terrible last year. So I don't anticipate it's going to improve enough to overcome Tampa. So I got Tampa by double digits.
Yeah, double digits is probably more than I would say, but you're right. Dallas's defense couldn't stop anyone last year. They're supposed to be improved this year, so we'll see. I guess we'll that's another good test here in week 1. Kind of see where they're at defense wise. But measuring stick, I think that was the exact phrase I was looking for earlier. It's a good measuring stick for Dak. By no means do I think he's in any position to come and lead them to a victory. He hasn't played a game in preseason, like you mentioned. So I do agree with you. It's going to be an uphill battle, but the perfect game, in my opinion, to come back, see where you're at. It's a perfect measuring stick. And if I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm like, hey, listen, if he even puts up an average performance against this defense of Tampa Bay, then I'm optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one way to look at it is you're not going to play many defenses much tougher than Tampa. Yeah. So right. If you come out of this one looking pretty good, you ought to feel pretty good going into the rest of the season. So
absolutely,
I can see that perspective definitely. So, all right, cool. Let's go ahead and jump over to our next game. This one's definitely an interesting one. We got Miami, the Dolphins going to play New England. We got the last 2 Alabama quarterbacks going head-to-head with Tua for the Dolphins and Mac Jones for New England. So I'll start this one off. I honestly think that both of these teams want to play the same style of defense. Same style of football, which is ball control, play good defense, and really don't ask your young quarterback to do too much. I think they're really close as far as talent level goes, overall, both teams. And really when you have a matchup like that where they play very similar styles, the talent is very similar. They both have good defenses that are going to give each one of those quarterbacks fits at times because they're still both learning NFL defenses, especially Mac Jones being his first start and things like that. I think it's really going to come down to whichever quarterback makes the least amount of mistakes. And when I think about that, it always boils down to the coaching matchup. And although I think Brian Flores is a good coach and he's definitely got Miami on the right path, they're trending the right way. Obviously, Belichick's the greatest to ever do it. So when you have the greatest to ever do it, and you got two young quarterbacks, I'm gonna pick his quarterback every time because most likely he's going to put his quarterback in less positions to make a mistake than Brian Flores will, just based off of his experience and knowing what to ask his quarterback to do and what not to ask him to do. So, and then obviously it never hurts to have home field advantage on opening day because the crowd is usually pumped. You got to think this year it's going to be even crazier because fans are back. So it's going to be wild. So that's going to be a hostile environment, I imagine, especially you saw the reception they gave Mac Jones in the preseason. We talked about it on a couple podcasts ago. So I think they're going to go wild. And again, I think it's going to come down to whoever makes the least amount of mistakes. And I'm going to go with the Patriots 20-17 in a very competitive game. I could be wrong, but I think that's the way it's going to go based off of home field and Belichick. So who you got in this one?
I'm going to flip the script. I'm going to go 2017 Miami over New England. And I don't think I think you're going to see Miami pass the ball a lot more than you would think. They'll probably pass the ball a lot more than New England does, just assuming they can keep the ball on offense. But Tua looked really sharp in preseason. He was letting it rip, as they say. He was very efficient, making quick decisions, getting through his reads. And there was one mistake I saw was a red zone interception in preseason week 1. But other than that, he played lights out football, and most of it was through the air. He's got some weapons over there. Devonta Parker didn't play in the preseason, so we didn't really see him much. But they did bring in Waddle. They've got a couple of other receivers, Gaskin out of the backfield, who can catch the ball as well. So I think we're going to see them throw the ball a little bit more. I do, it wouldn't surprise me if New England won, based on Bill Belichick's track record against young quarterbacks. But he's got a young quarterback of his own there. I'm not sold on their receiver group yet. Their running back room has just been shaken up quite a bit. Not saying they don't have talent in the running back room, but it has been shaken up quite a bit here recently. So we'll see. If we're talking about this game, let's say week 6, I would probably go New England because Mac Jones, has a couple of games under his belt, home field, so on and so forth. But hey, I could be wrong. But in this one, I've got Miami in a very, very close game.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree with you the opposite way. I wouldn't be surprised if Miami won the game. Like, it wouldn't shock me or anything. I just think with the home field advantage being opening day with the fans coming back, I think that's going to make a big difference with energy. But again, I would not be surprised if Miami won. I do agree that they probably will throw the ball a little more than New England. But I don't think it's going to be a lot of deep passes. So I still think they're going to try and control the ball with, crossing routes and short passes and things like that. Not ask Tua to do too much. They're going to take some deep shots because he definitely can do it. But I don't think they're going to be trying to throw it all over the place. I think they're going to try and control it with nickel and diming them down the field. So
I'll be curious to see how much Tua uses his legs this year too. Him and Kyler Murray remind me a lot of each other. They're just size-wise, even like just metrics in general, body metrics, size, everything. Their arm strength and their athleticism, top to bottom. So I'd be curious to see also how they use Tua on the ground, running the ball this year, and see how much he improvises as well. could give them a really nice element that they've been missing in the past.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. He's going to be another year removed from that hip injury, so if he feels more confident in getting out there and running a little more, it's definitely possible that he adds another dimension to the offense that they didn't have last year. Even though they had Fitzpatrick kind of finish out the season, he's definitely not a guy that's going to get out and run around a lot. So
exactly.
he can do it here and there, but he's not going to do it like Tua can or
Right.
could have before he got hurt. So it'll be interesting to see if he's back closer to the 100%. So. All right, so we got that one opposite, same score, but you got Dolphins and I got Patriots. Okay.
Close game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game as well. All right, so let's take a real quick detour before we talk about a few more games and give our Fantasy Freak of the Week prediction. So I'll go ahead and let you go first on this one. Who you got for us as your Fantasy Freak of the Week? And really, just to kind of break it down, it's not like, obviously, we know who's going to be like the freaks of the week. We know Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, guys like that are going to go off. So really, this is like someone that we don't necessarily think is going to be a consistent freak of the week, or a freak every week. So go ahead and give us who you got, bro.
Yeah, I got Gesicki, like talking about that Miami-New England game, just kind of piggybacking off that. I've got Mike Gesicki, tight end for Miami. He's my fantasy football freak of the week. This week, I expect him to have a big game, kind of be a safety net for Tua. They've got a lot of young receivers over there, minus Devonta Parker. In Miami, they've got a lot of young receivers minus Devonta Parker. So I think they rely heavily on Gesicki. Tua is going to throw him the ball a lot. He's going to get a lot of targets, a lot of receptions. He might wind up top 5 tight end in fantasy football if he remains healthy. So big week this week. Going to be the safety net.
All right, I like it. I still think the Patriots are going to win, but I think that you're spot on with him being a safety blanket for Tua throughout the game.
He's going to be the only Miami Dolphin to score a touchdown.
All right, little side bold prediction there. All right, I got you. All right, so I'll go ahead and go. I also picked a tight end. My freak of the week is going to be Dallas Goedert, or Goedert, however you pronounce it. I'm not sure how you're supposed to pronounce it, but one of those, I think. And really, I think it's a couple of things. The Falcons' defense last year gave up the 3rd most fantasy points to tight ends, and I don't think that they improved really anywhere. So I anticipate that they're going to be susceptible to the same types of openings for tight ends. And then you got to think about Goedert. He had the 10th highest points per game average for tight ends last year, and that was while he was dealing with injuries and sharing targets with Zach Ertz. So I know we talked about it the other day. You said that Ertz and Hurts kind of have a connection. They kind of were both speaking. I think this one boils down to just age and health. And I'm going to go with Goedert staying healthier than Ertz and separating himself in their tight end room. So I think he's going to share less targets than he did last year, less reps. And he turns him, you mentioned security blanket. I think he's going to turn himself and establish himself as Jalen Hurts' security blanket. So, so I think, that's my guy. I'm going to predict 22 points in a full PPR with 8 catches, 80 plus yards, and a TD. So obviously I think that would be a big day for him. Now we're talking about tight ends. Obviously, let's not forget Atlanta's got a young tight end of their own that they just drafted, Kyle Pitts. So could be fireworks from tight ends on both sides in this game, but I got Goedert as my fantasy freak of the week at 22 points.
I'm not knocking it, honestly. I mean, hey, my quote on Ertz and Hurts the other day was just a little snippet I read on Sleeper app notifications. So I've got Goedert in my money league, fantasy football league. So I am not opposed to him being a fantasy freak this week. I hope he does ball out. He is the clear tight end 1 in Philadelphia. So I love it. I love it. Overall, I'll probably be riding Go Dirt all year long.
Perfect. All right. Let's go ahead and jump back to the games. Next game we have up here, next real game we have up is the LA, I almost said San Diego, the LA Chargers against the Washington football team. If you grew up watching football for as long as I have, it is so weird to say that about both of those teams, but it's the LA Chargers against the Washington football team. This one's got an interesting matchup too. The last one we talked about, they had the last two Alabama quarterbacks. This one has last year's offensive rookie of the year against last year's defensive rookie of the year. You got Justin Herbert and the Chargers going against Chase Young and the football team. So I'm really excited to watch this one because the more I watch Chase Young, the more I like him. We were talking about freaks in the last segment. He is a freak of a football player. If you just watch him, he jumps off the screen. I haven't seen many guys, and as long as I've watched football, I haven't seen many guys with the speed or strength or quickness or smarts that he has. He's a really smart guy for such a young player. So I'm excited to see that, see him and that defense go against Justin Herbert and see if Justin Herbert can still continue to gain more control of the Chargers offense. He had a phenomenal year last year. I'm not sure if he would have won Rookie of the Year had Joe Burrow not gotten injured. I think it would have been a very close race because Joe Burrow was having a hell of a season himself. But I'm excited to see both of these guys go against each other. I'm excited to see these teams. I picked both of them to make the playoffs, so I think it's going to be a good game. I'm going to go with the football team, 24-20. I think Fitzpatrick has a solid debut, and Washington's defense makes just enough plays to preserve the win at home to open the season. Again, I think home field advantage plays a big part in this game as well.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that one. This is a really, really tough game to call, in my opinion. I've got the football team in a close battle, 27-20. It's going to be a touchdown difference. But, on offense, both these teams are young, except for at the quarterback position over there in Washington. The rest of their offense is really young. And then the Chargers, they've got a young offense. News broke today. I wouldn't say breaking news. There was some news about Eckler being sidelined from practice today, did not practice with a hamstring injury. So that was a little bit interesting. No real details on that other than just a hamstring. So could just be, maintenance or whatever. Maybe he's just getting a massage on it. Who knows? But he did miss the entire practice, just a couple days away from opening day. Then we got two really, really good defense. I think people overlook how good San Diego's defense is. Los Angeles. I pulled it. I did this last week with the Raiders as well. I called them Oakland once or twice, and they're on Las Vegas. Nonetheless, they don't have fans anywhere they go, so it doesn't really matter. But they both have really good defenses, and the Chargers, they're getting Derwin James back in the secondary safety, so that should give them a really big boost. He's one of the best safeties when he's fully healthy. But I do have Washington this one. I think their offense is going to be quite high-powered with the running backs and the receivers that they have. But in a close battle, 27-20 football team. Home field plays a big, big role here, just like you said.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned something. I was going to mention it earlier and totally slipped my mind. Eckler, I would say right now, probably nothing to be too concerned about. If he misses another practice or if he misses that Friday practice, you can probably count him out for Sunday. So something to keep their eye on if you are a Chargers fan for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. Let's go ahead and jump over to our next game. And this is the one of the ones that I am definitely looking forward to. You got the Steelers at the Bills. And I'll go ahead and have you open us up on this one. Break it down for us.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite games of the week that I'm looking out for. You got what's expected to be a high-powered offense in Pittsburgh and could be. I mean, they started the season 11 straight wins last year. And then Buffalo with Josh Allen. It's kind of scary. There's a lot of mouths to feed over there in Buffalo as far as receivers goes. It's kind of scary when you give a guy like Josh Allen another weapon in Emmanuel Sanders. I think they have 4 really good wide receivers that he could throw the ball to. And they like to spread the field with receivers already because, let's just be honest, their running backs aren't that great. Their quarterback is their best running back. I do have Buffalo on this one. It's going to be a really high-scoring game, 30, 31, 28, probably a one-score game. Pittsburgh defense is really too good to let it get too far away from him. Pittsburgh's offense should be a lot better with Najee Harris. I didn't mention it earlier, and I probably should have, but now's a perfect time to mention that in the preseason, Pittsburgh's offensive line, which you said is not really yet to be determined if they're new and improved yet. They were the number 1 rated offensive line throughout the preseason. And they did play their starters a lot just to help them gain that continuity. I was looking into it and I was pretty surprised by that. So that there's something to be said about that. If their offensive line can play better, they have a better running back without a doubt, in my opinion. He's an upgrade from what they've had over the last couple of years in James Conner. And, we all saw what James Conner did behind a good offensive line. So I think he's closer to a Le'Veon Bell type Najee, probably runs with a little bit more power. But Ben Roethlisberger, he's got some weapons there with Deontay, Chase, and Juju. They're going to be good. But again, I give Buffalo the nod here because Steelers are still going to be trying to figure things out a little bit early on, I think. And if they were going against, the Bengals or someone, I'd give it to the Steelers, but they're not. They're going against one of the best teams in the AFC, the team I have to win the Super Bowl this year. Be a good measuring stick for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said there, most of it actually. I'm definitely excited to see Najee Harris. As I mentioned, I've been telling you since he got drafted, I think he's in the right spot. I definitely think if the Steelers, in fact, get back to Steeler football, which we all know that's pound the rock, pound the rock, pound the rock, I think that he's going to be a superstar because the guy is super talented and can really do a lot of different things. He can run it outside, run it inside, catch the ball, that stuff. So I'm excited to see him go against Buffalo. You're right. They are one of the best teams in the AFC. They're one of the best teams in football. So it'll be a good measuring stick for Ben and that new offensive line. Their defense is still legit. So like you said, I don't think it's going to be a runaway at all. As I mentioned earlier, I am interested to see how Buffalo responds this year after losing in the championship game. We do see a lot of times where teams will make a deep playoff run and in the next season come back and they're not quite the same. So it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back. I also have the Bills winning this one in a close game. I have it 27-23. I think what ultimately is the difference is which quarterback makes the most plays. And when you think about it, Josh Allen has his legs to make plays, and Big Ben really doesn't. And I think that we start to see a trend develop in week 1 where Mike Tomlin starts to see that although Big Ben can still do some things, he starts to see the trend that everyone else in the league sees, and that's that you need to have a quarterback that can do things with his legs as well. And that's why I think that at some point this season, and I could be wrong, and I probably am, but I do think at some point this season, Dwayne Haskins takes over as their starter because he is more mobile than Big Ben. But again, I could be wrong, and that's why it was one of my bold predictions. But either way, when it comes to this game, I have the Bills 27-23 behind Josh Allen's legs being the difference.
Yeah, I like that. Just too much talent on Buffalo, I think, Buffalo's offense. And they have a good defense too, but overall too much talent. And, I'm still not on board with your Dwayne Haskins bold prediction there. I understand Big Ben can't move. He is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. And let's not forget that the Super Bowl winning quarterback from last year, he couldn't move either.
Oh, I'm not even going to respond to that.
I know. I'm gonna say, hey, he's not Tom Brady. I know Big Ben's no Tom Brady. It's not what I'm saying at all. So don't take it the wrong way, guy.
No, I know that's not what you're saying. No, I agree. I just honestly, it's something that I've read a lot of things about the Steelers. I keep up with them. I'll be honest, if I was not a 49ers fan, I'd probably be a Steelers fan. So I keep up with them quite a bit. And I just feel like it's a perfect storm that's brewing. And as long as Dwayne Haskins can keep his head on straight and become a professional, which if Mike Tomlin's your coach, you've got a really good shot at learning how to be a professional. So I think if he can put it together, you got to remember he was a first round draft pick. Like, it's not like he doesn't have talent, not like he can't play. He was just in a bad position in Washington. And it's not all on the organization, but a lot of it is that organization wasn't trying to put him in the best position. The coaching situation was in flux. So he's in a better position now. Has more stability. The Steelers are the most stable franchise in the history of the NFL. So if he can't make it there, then I don't think he can make it anywhere. But I think he's got a good shot.
I do agree. I think he might have a good shot, to remain in the league. I don't think he's going to be a starter. And I agree, Tomlin is a heck of a coach, but I also think that Ron Rivera is a heck of a coach too. And I do think that Ron Rivera gave him an opportunity. I think that Ron Rivera, did his best. I know they were in flux, last year, and he probably wasn't involved as much as he could have been because of his cancer treatments, so on and so forth. But nonetheless, I do think that Ron Rivera would have given Haskins a similar opportunity coaching-wise, being hard on him, making him a professional as Tomlin, because I do believe that Coach Rivera does bring that same type of hard-nosed, professionalism to the league and to his team.
Yeah, I definitely like Ron Rivera myself, but I think that Dwayne Haskins' relationship with the Washington football team was ruined before Ron Rivera even got there. And there was really nothing that Ron Rivera could do to save it. As much as he tried, it was already a done deal, I think.
It could have been, like you said, prior to. So I agree with you on that. If there's anyone who can do it, I do think it's Tomlin. I think the Steelers organization, like you said, is top-notch, head to toe. They're an elite organization in the league.
Absolutely. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and we're going to take one last detour before we break down the Browns and Chiefs. So it's time for our week 1 bowl predictions. I'll go ahead and go first. And I got the Eagles winning by double digits on the road against the Atlanta Falcons. As I mentioned earlier, Atlanta's defense is not very good, and that is being polite. I think Jalen Hurts is about to quiet some noise about whether he can play at a high level in the NFL. Now, I'm definitely not predicting that he's going to be an MVP candidate or anything like that. But, again, just to go back to the way the league is trending, he fits that mold of those mobile guys that can move around, make plays with their legs, extend plays. He did a lot of that when he took over at the end of the season. He's got some learning to do, but I still think that I think in this week's game, I think he's going to have enough. And I think he already is good enough to torch a bad defense, and that's definitely what he is facing this week. So I have the Eagles winning by 10 points at least on Sunday. You heard it here first.
I'd love to see how well – I'd love to see Jalen Hurts do well, and I'd like to see how well he does. He does have on paper, he does have a good matchup against Atlanta's defense. So it'd be nice for him to get out there and hopefully make some plays early, get some confidence. So, yeah, I mean, I could get on board with that. Atlanta's not a great team. Their offense got a downgraded receiver. They did draft Pitts, but I think it'll probably take a little bit of time for him to acclimate. So might be hard for them to keep up on offense too. My bold prediction, though, famous Jameis. Yeah, I've got the Saints in an upset over the Packers with Jameis throwing 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and over 300 yards there. He's gonna have a good year. I said this previously. I think he's gonna have a good year this year. He doesn't have Michael Thomas. He might get him back towards the end of the year. But you know what? I think not having that kind of distraction there right now is a good thing for him. You know, I believe Michael Thomas was a bit of a distraction in the preseason, you know, and I don't think that's what Winston needs at all at this point in his career or in this season with this team trying to, you know, continually earn the starting job, I guess you would say. You know, he's going to go in week 1. He's going to probably focus on week 1, and he doesn't need any distractions. So I think he's going to have a really big week. He's going to get some of those other receivers, namely his running back, Kamara, involved pretty heavily and also hit some deep bombs downfield. I think the boldest prediction of them all there, though, is the 0 INTs.
I definitely agree. The boldest prediction is 0 INTs. Obviously, as I mentioned, last week we got together. Packers defense was pretty close to top 10 with scoring defense and passing defense, rushing. They weren't far out of the top 10. So
yeah,
not that they're a great defense at all, but I think they'll have some opportunities to maybe get one from Jameis. I would be definitely surprised if he gets out of this one with 4 TDs and 0 interceptions, because if he's throwing 4 TDs, that means that he's throwing the ball a lot. And one thing about Jameis, his history tells us if he's throwing the ball a lot, typically at least 1 or 2 of those are going to the other team in the, you know, possibly to the other end zone. So
that's for a bold prediction.
Yeah, very true. It is a bold prediction. I also I would be more than a little surprised if the Saints were able to beat the Packers. With the Packers, you know, all the stuff that they got going on this season, coming into the season, and wanting to kind of have a last dance, so to speak, type of season. You know, I would be more than a little surprised if the Saints were able to upset the Packers for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a bold prediction as well. But you know what? Crazier things have happened in the NFL.
That's right. You could be wrong.
That's my logic on that.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead. We'll jump into our last game before we give all of our picks. We got Baker and the Browns on the road to face the Chiefs and that revamped offensive line in front of Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, the Browns are coming off that impressive finish to last season. And when you think about it, knocking off the Steelers in the playoffs. You know, I think that was our first playoff win in this entire century, if I'm correct. I don't think they have many since 2000 or before then. So I mean, obviously, they have some momentum that they can build off of. They get OBJ back. It'll be interesting to see how he fits back in with the offense. A lot of experts and things like that feel that the offense was better without him after he got injured. I'm not so sure about that, but, you know, we'll find out how he fits in. Either way, he's back. They got him at 100%, it seems, so that'll be interesting. When it comes to the Chiefs, not much really to say other than they're the Chiefs. They got the best quarterback in the league. They got multiple weapons at every position, and they got a hell of a coach. So I think they're going to hit the ground running just like they always do because, they're the Chiefs. So I'm going to go ahead with the Chiefs winning this one. I know that you might have a different take, but I have the Chiefs winning this one pretty easily. Although they're going to be facing a pretty good defense, I do believe that they're going to have some struggles. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs 31-21 over the Browns. Fairly easily. I don't even know if it'll be that close. I think the Browns maybe sneak one at the end of the game to make it a little closer than what it actually is. But I could be wrong. So I know you picked the Browns to make the playoffs and make some noise. So I'm interested to see what you think about this one.
Yeah, no, similar to last year, I've got the Browns winning in a regular season matchup and then losing in the playoffs. They'll probably meet again in the playoffs. So I've got the Browns in this one in a close game, 27-24, Browns over the Chiefs. The Browns got an upgrade on their defensive line, on their defense through the draft. They had I can't even pronounce a gentleman's name from Notre Dame, Owusu Okoro, something of that nature. You know, pardon me for slandering your name, guy, but he's a heck of a player. I did see some games, you know, last year. I know you probably watched some, and he slipped in the draft. They picked him up. They already have a good defensive line. So I think the formula to beating the Chiefs was somewhat exposed last year in the Super Bowl with Tampa's D line and how much pressure they were able to get on Patrick Mahomes. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the Browns have Tampa Bay's defense overall, but they do have a really, really good defensive line, you know, led by Myles Garrett. So they also got Clowney now too. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how well their defensive line gels and plays together. And I think that they will be good enough to, you know, at least slow down Patrick Mahomes a little bit. You definitely are never going to stop a guy of his caliber, but you will be able to slow him down, I think. And then, you know, I don't think any offense will ever be worse, you know, or better without OBJ, I should say. No team or offense would ever be better without OBJ. He's just too good of a talent, too good of a player. You know, he may be a prima donna, but let's just be honest, some of the best players ever were prima donnas. Michael Irvin, Deion Sanders, these guys, you know, it's all part of the act, man. That's just the way I see it, you know. So it rubs some people the wrong way, but if you're a baller, you're a baller.
It's entertainment. Their job
That's what
is
I'm
entertainment.
saying. Yeah, man. It makes people want to watch the game, in my opinion. For as many people out there who are knocking OBJ for, you know, the way he acts and, you know, his goofiness, so on and so forth, there's probably 3 or 4 or 5 more people who are like, you know what, I like that guy for that exact reason, because he goes against the grain. He's different than all of these other NFL players, and I like that about him, honestly. I hope he doesn't change. I hope he comes out. I hope he balls out. I think he will be a difference maker on their offense. So again, Browns in a close one.
Okay. All right. I think he may be a difference maker for the Browns in the long haul. I don't think it's going to make a difference this week because the Chiefs are going to win this one by double digits.
It's the Chiefs, so
you never know. So
yeah, just the Chiefs.
So, all right, that's it. So that's all we got for our individual breakdowns. Here's the rest of our picks and also who the odds makers have to win this week as well. So you can see, in addition to the ones we discussed, we had a few other differences. We got Philly and Atlanta, Carolina and the Jets different. I got the Bengals beating the Vikings in a surprise. I think Joe Burrow comes out and he's smoking Joe right from the get-go. So
smoking Joe Burrow.
As we talked about, we got the Chiefs and Browns different. We got New England and Miami different, and New Orleans and Green Bay different as well. That is part of your bold prediction. So rest of the games we got the same. Odds makers say that I'm wrong about Atlanta. They say that you're wrong about the Jets. They say I'm wrong about the Bengals, and they say that you're wrong about Green Bay. So we'll see how that goes. I think that we might split those.
Hey, it's possible. I mean, you know, I always got to go with a couple of underdogs.
Yeah.
You know, you got New Orleans at home. They still have one of the best head coaches, Sean Payton. So there's a lot to be said for you know, just little things like that and little details. They are going against a really good team in Green Bay. So I'd say this: if this was a pick'em, a $5 pick'em, I'd be picking Green Bay.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. I thought about this game because, again, home field advantage is going to be important. Unfortunately, they've been.
It is in Florida.
because of the hurricane, unfortunately. Obviously, hopefully everybody is okay there. But yeah, they're going to be playing in Jacksonville, I think. So I think they're going to have fans, obviously, because they want to sell tickets and things. But I don't think there's going to be much of a home field advantage. So that's one of the other reasons I went with Green Bay. And then, like I said, I think Green Bay's on that last dance tour, or they're trying to be anyway. So. All right, so let's see. Last segment I got here is the parlay, the play money parlay of the week. Obviously, this is for entertainment purposes only. Please do not gamble if you can't afford to lose. I got a 12-pick parlay. I put $2.50 on it because I'm broke, and I'm just kidding. I am broke, but that's not all I could afford. To win $2,077.99. So this week's odds are 830 to 1, basically. I got the Titans to cover the spread. I got the Jags to win straight up, the football team to win straight up. Again, the Bengals straight up, Panthers straight up, Bills, Eagles, Seahawks, Patriots, all straight up, Chiefs straight up as well. I got the under on the Chiefs and the Browns. So hopefully they don't have a high-scoring game, like you said. And then I got the Packers beating the Saints. Again, I think I got a leg up on that one because the Saints won't actually be at home. So
yeah,
don't gamble if you can't afford to lose. And if I win, then we're doing the podcast from Las Vegas next week.
Woo!
All right.
Hope you win, bro.
Me too. All right. So that's really all we got this evening, everyone. So we do appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Obviously, have a great opening week of games, and we'll see you all next week. And as a PSA, please remember to be kind, even to Cowboys fans.
Even to Cowboys fans.